Fuji is still on the left as I set out on another day of traveling, this time in the company of Masahiko Fukugawa, who is heading into Fuji City. There are several Tokaido post towns I would like to visit today, including some where Hiroshige made splendid images. There is always the hope of finding their surroundings untouched, but I know that may be expecting too much. Besides, there are other things to consider. The landscape may have changed, but Hiroshige depicted more than that. He also included people. They are just as interesting, and, like my companion this morning, they have been unfailingly kind and helpful. Fuji City is a town of slightly under 250,000, which prides itself not only in the mountain after which it was named, but also in the mountain of paper that is produced here. And what better way to express that pride than in hosting a paper fair, featuring not only fancy products like designer cards, but some of the more humble applications as well. Aside from a market, the fair allows the city's paper manufacturers to showcase their product and demonstrate that there is a lot more you can do with it than simply use it for what it was intended. I decide I have enough to carry as it is, but find this an intriguing exercise, which obviously fascinates both the young and the old. And while it doesn't always stack up, perhaps this skill comes in handy when trying to store too many things in too small an apartment. I continue my trip towards Kambara, the Tokaido's 15th station. Among all the Tokaido's post towns, Kambara is perhaps best known for one of the outstanding prints in Hiroshige's work. It shows a few travelers trudging through deep snow. One can almost feel the snow quietly falling, hear the crackle of it when walking through. Wherever the eye wanders on this print, it encounters perfection. The only problem is, the scene doesn't exist. Hiroshige most likely made it up, though he might have found something similar up in the hills. But with the snow, he definitely took some liberty. Snow is a great rarity here. The near blizzard he portrayed is out of the question. It makes me wonder why he would want to do so. A few kilometers further, the Old Tokaido enters the small town of Yui. Near its entrance is the site of the former Honjin, where daimyo and other important travelers used to stay. On its grounds is now a museum dedicated to Hiroshige. Its curator confirms my suspicions about the Kambara print.
やっぱりそうですね、かなり想像力を働かせてましてですね、実際に、ありえないような、カンバラの絵みたいにですね、もう今実際に雪が降らないような場所に雪を降らせてみたりですとか、それから実際にはない富士山をですね、実際の場所とは違う場所に描いたりとか、いろいろそれぞれ自分でアレンジはしているみたいですね。
Yokota-san also indicates there is a growing belief among the experts that Hiroshige never traveled the Tokaido himself, but that I find a little harder to accept. After all, people loved to travel the Tokaido at that time. And the prints I have seen up to this point reveal not only a fine landscape artist, but an astute observer of human nature as well. Then again, I am not an expert, so I continue onward with some doubts. I'll let the remainder of the trip decide whether I'm following Hiroshige's footsteps or merely his imagination. The Tokaido runs for several kilometers in Yui, from the site of the former Honjin to Sata Mountain. Halfway between is a koban, a small police station. Kobans are omnipresent in Japan and useful for anything from asking for directions to reporting a lost item. Masami Kawai and Kazuhide Matsuya are on duty today. After providing directions to Sata Pass, they invite me to come along, for they're heading in that direction anyway. Japan is one of the safest, if not the safest country in the world, so presumably the police are doing something right here. As elsewhere, Japanese police officers have a wide variety of tasks, from traffic control to crime prevention. But on this occasion, I notice they also have a social role.
通常はですね、警らですとか巡回連絡、巡回連絡っていうのは各お宅を回ってですね、家を回ってですね、そこで情報交換をしたりとかですね、交番の方でですね、ミニ広報誌というものがありまして、そういったもので事件事故の発生状況等を住民の方に提供して、こんにちは、こんにちは、由緒の交番です。巡回連絡に来ました。住民の人にもこんなことがありましたというような情報提供して、そこで協力を得るというような形をとっています。
That trust and cooperation seem to exist here. Elsewhere too, the relationship between the police and the public seems to be quite cordial, the way it tends to be in places where people don't run afoul of the law. Perhaps it has to do with these officers doing more than enforcement. They're also providing a service here, going out of their way to be helpful. There's a social side to their work one doesn't necessarily see elsewhere. While officers Kawai and Matsuya continue their patrol, I head on to the place where Hiroshige sketched one of the outstanding landscapes in the series. It places Mount Fuji in center stage, and the expanse of Suruga Bay in front of it. A few travelers carefully approach the edge of the cliff to get a better view of the scenery. This was possibly the most magnificent view along the entire Tokaido, and if one disregards the highway below, it still exists. Beyond the pass, the Old Tokaido continues as a footpath along the mountainside. Here, finally, I get to see some of the scenery as Hiroshige saw it. Near the mouth of the Okitsu River, Hiroshige sketched his image of the town that was named after it. There were no bridges then, just porters, and the crew Hiroshige shows has its work cut out for it, because two sumo wrestlers have asked to be carried across. Neither the horse nor the porters appear to be enjoying that. Okitsu hasn't succeeded in retaining much from the past. Even so, the 17th station holds a special place along the Tokaido because it was the setting for a wonderful book about Japan. Leroy Mobley remembers it well.
I read a book called Japanese Inn, perhaps 15, 16 years ago. It was the first book I ever read about Japanese history, and I've always wanted to see this particular inn because that book was about this inn and its 400-year history. But as such, it also is a very absorbing history of the last 400 years of Japan.
The inn was called Menuguchi. It hosted its last guests several years ago, closing the doors on several centuries' worth of business. But thanks to the book, it was not forgotten. While the inn has now been restored, that is no longer possible with the marvelous view it once held over the coast. A similar fate befell Shikenji Temple, just a bit further along the Tokaido. It is particularly well known for its statues of the 500 disciples of Buddha, scattered along the mountainside. They have stood here more than 200 years and have seen many changes, especially in what they now see in front of them. Gone is the view they once had over the sea. Gone forever is much of the peace that once ruled here. I guess that's part of traveling along today's Tokaido. There are always several sides to it. Here, it is simply a matter of looking to its right or to its left, to the past or to the present.